This is my favorite topic to share about. And after mentoring over 200 people, many of whom who are now millionaires, I would say that these are the two best keys for success that I personally have seen. The first is beingness, which most people just call identity. And the second of which is mindset. And in this video, I'm going to break down simple but very powerful things that you could do to basically choose the exact identity you're looking to create and optimize your mindset to pretty much make it a supercomputer magnet for your success. All right, so starting out with beingness. What is beingness? Essentially, beingness is what you are being, also known as your identity. It's basically what you are. For example, if you identify with being confident, or if you identify with being successful or friendly or scared or lonely, that is what you are being. And most people that I know kind of just think their identity is just the way it is and they were born like that. But the most successful people that I personally know and the most successful people that I see, they choose their identity and they, with awareness and intention, create the exact identity that they're looking to create. So if you could create the exact identity you're looking to create, how do you do that? Well, the first place that I think is the best place to start is with the concept of be, do, have. And the way to use be, do, have to figure out which identity is going to help you have the exact things that you want in your life is to actually start with the have section first. So literally just starting by saying, what do you want to have in your life? Do you want better relationships? Do you want a better sense of purpose, more wealth, improve your health, those sorts of things? And then once you have listed out what you want to have, and if you really want to make this work and make a big impact right away, go ahead and pause this and literally just list out your top 5, 10 things that you want to have in your life that you don't have at the moment. Then once you're clear about the things that you really want to have in your life, from there, you just list out the things that you need to do in order to have those things. And then once you know what you want to have and then what you need to do to have those things, from there, you start to identify and list out what traits do you need to have to consistently do the things that will create the results that you want to create. For example, do you need to be confident? Do you need to be courageous? Do you need to be disciplined? Things like that. It's really simple, but it's not necessarily easy. And I do need to warn you about the biggest area where people screw this up. And this next one scares me just about as much as anything that I've ever shared online. Basically, this one comes from the highest level of Freemasonry. And I am not a Freemason. I have not taken a sword to my heart and pledged myself to secrecy and pledged my life to Freemasons. However, if you don't know about the Freemasons, they are a very influential fraternity, which is basically means private group of guys that claim they have super powerful, sacred, hidden, divine knowledge, right? And basically 2/3 of the United States presidents were Freemasons, including most of the founders of the United States. And it's all over, the symbols are all over the biggest social media platform on the planet. The symbols are all over the biggest search engine on the planet. So I think there's some truth to their claim that they have some powerful knowledge. And basically, many of them say that this word is the most powerful word in existence, and they only teach the secret word to the highest level of the most prestigious Freemasons, right? But fortunately for us, there are people on the internet spill the beads, spill the secrets. I personally learned this from Mark Passio, so I'm giving him a quick shout out. And anyways, they call this word the lost word. And what they teach their members is that if you don't know how to say this word, you are guaranteed to be lost in your life. So what is this secret lost word? The lost word is no. And most people don't really know the key to saying no. Pretty much every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to infinitely more things at the same time. For example, if you get into a committed, faithful, romantic relationship, you are saying no to dating every other person in the world. And if you have an affair with someone else when committing not to, you are saying no to trust. And to really put in perspective how powerful this is, think about the most successful people you know, right? I'll use athletes as an example. Think about the most successful athlete you can think of. Were they the most successful athlete in multiple sports, or as a YouTuber at the same time, or they come out with a mixtape or a rock album at the same time? No, they said no to all other sports, all other career paths, literally every other option except the one they focused on and became great at. And the fact that they said no to everything else is what created the space in everything they needed to be able to fully say yes to the sport that they wanted to focus on. And you're probably starting to get the point already, but I'm gonna share the most gangster example of, if you don't learn how to say no yourself, other people are going to say no for you. Thousands of years ago, Greece attacked the city of Troy, and they sent their armies over on ships. And the generals or the king, I don't know all the details, but basically the leaders, right? When their armies landed, they just burned all of the ships and basically said, we are going to win or we are going to die. So basically, the leaders said no on behalf of everyone to every other option besides winning or dying. And they did win, and here we are, thousands of years later, still using the term all the time, burn the boats. Man, talking about the Freemasons' secret knowledge freaks me out to put this out there on the internet. But basically, they claim that the key to being able to say no is to have a deep knowingness, not even sure if that's a word, to fully know what you are saying yes to every time that you say no. So tying this back to be, do, have, the more certainty you have in what you want to be, do, and have, the easier it will be to say no to everything that is not in alignment with that. So once you know what you really want to have in your life, every time you say no to everything that isn't in alignment with that, you are saying yes to what you want most. You are creating time, space, resources that you could use to create the ideal version of yourself and create the results that you want in your life. Warren Buffett, who at the time of me recording this video is listed to have a net worth of $154 billion, says the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. And Dan Martell, who's one of my favorite entrepreneurs, he's worth over $100 million already, but I'm fully confident he's gonna become a billionaire. He's on fire. Anyways, he literally released a video today that was talking about the top 20 things he says no to. And he opens up the video by saying, what you say no to is much more important than what you say yes to. All right. So once you fully get how to get the most out of be, do, have, and once you really know how to say no, like you're one of these elites, right? There's one other huge thing that could literally break your momentum dead in its tracks. And essentially that is, you need to make sure that your mind is pushing you towards what you want to be, do, have. Because if you don't take care of your mind, it will literally become your biggest enemy. So how do you take responsibility for your thoughts? First, you need to be clear on what you value. Also, another way of saying this is like, you need to know What's most important to you? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? And what do you want to have? Then, if you have any thoughts that do not serve what you're trying to create, then just identify those thoughts. Once you are clear on that, then you need to be able to recognize when a thought isn't helping you achieve those things and isn't helping you create what you want to create. Then when you identify thoughts that are not in alignment with what you want to create, you're going to replace them with thoughts that do help you create the things that you'd like to create. But the thing is it's extremely difficult. Some people even say it's impossible to push thoughts away with force. And if you try to force thoughts out, it actually makes everything way harder than it needs to be. And to give you an example of this, if I tell you, don't think about an elephant, don't think about an elephant, don't think about an elephant, you're going to think about an elephant. So instead of trying to force thoughts out, it's actually way easier to just input a new thought. And the mind really likes to focus on one thing at a time. So if you can just focus on a new thought, the old one will go away automatically. I do need to say, if you have thoughts tied to a very emotionally intense thing that happened, like some form of tragedy or something that just like has a ton of heavy emotions tied to it, you will need to emotionally process that. Those ones you probably won't be able to easily replace. However, over 95% of the time, it's as simple as just inputting a new thought and focusing on the new thought. With that, I want to show an example of this because I've seen so many people have this thought, and basically this thought can destroy people's chances of creating the success that they want to create. And that's a thought that money is evil. First of all, money is just a tool. It was literally created to make trading things with other people easier. For example, you could go work for someone else, helping them with some type of service, and trade time and effort that you can use that money for living in a better place, eating better food, doing something really fun, right? And of course, you can also use money to do bad things, but you can definitely use money to do good things as well. You can use it to help heal people. You can use it to help people create a better life. Money is not good or bad by nature. It is neutral, and you can use it to do good and bad things, of course, but it's literally just a tool. So if you have any thoughts similar to that, making you think that money is bad or evil for any reason, first of all, that's going to make it much harder to make more money and build wealth. And I'm going to dive into a quick and easy example on how to swap that out. So after you've identified the thought that you're looking to replace, ask yourself, what good things could you do with money? You can heal people. You can take an awesome vacation. You can take care of your family, stuff like that. And I'm about to blow your mind one more time because there's an additional step that can make the impact over 20 times stronger. So back when I was in college, I was actually a pre-medical student and I absolutely hated it. Basically, I was in school to become a doctor, and I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and it just became clear to me that like that was totally not the path I wanted to go for myself, for the rest of my life. For me personally, I appreciate, great healers, doctors, yada, yada, yada. But anyways, I ended up dropping out. But while I was there, I met some incredible people, and I learned a lot of cool things as well. And one of the guys was a neuroscientist. This guy was wicked smart. Like, he was getting like over 100%, like the hardest classes. And yeah, just like he's literally a certified genius. And anyways, he was also like one of my best friends at the time. And basically, he would be sharing all these crazy things he was learning about neuroscience. For those of y'all who don't know what neuroscience is, it's basically the study of how the mind and the body interact with each other. And the first thing that I want to share with you that he shared with me that totally blew my mind was the concept of neuroplasticity. Basically, every time you have a thought, your brain starts connecting different parts of your brains together in new ways and just pretty much remodeling your brain. However, when you are asleep, your mind and brain replay the thoughts and memories from that day that it considers to be the most important. And not only does it replay it, it replays it over and over and over again, 20 times a second, to just create more and more connections and really prioritize the shape of your brain based on what it thinks is most important. So if you can direct your mind and brain into thinking that the identity that you want to create is important, it will literally shape your brain to help create that 20 times a second as you're sleeping. So how do we make our mind and brain think that something's important enough to prioritize? If you have a lot of emotion tied to a thought, you're going to dream about it over and over again as you sleep. And at this point in time, the dream space is very difficult to determine exactly what's happening with our current science capabilities, right? But what most neuroscientists think is happening is that your brain is preparing for more and more experiences like that. So to get that more than 20-fold increase in the effectiveness of reinforcing the thoughts that will help create the identity you want to create, it is critical to bring emotion into it as well. So for example, when you're working on having a mindset that will help you build wealth, don't just say, I want $1 million, right? What's that? Or $1 billion, right? What's that gonna do? That's gonna allow you to take those trips and see that part of the world you've always wanted to see, or it's going to allow you to have your kids, go to a great school or get a trainer for basketball, or maybe you can retire your parents. So whatever gives you like a very positive emotion, especially like you will feel a boost of energy if it like really strikes a chord, right? And that's the indication that your mind is going to prioritize that while you sleep. And when your mind prioritizes that, that's how you get the more than 20-fold increase in the speed and impact of using these new thoughts to create that identity, to create those results that you want to have. This is not something to do once and just kind of like forget about it, right? Because every single thought that you have is changing the shape of your brain. And basically, every time you have thoughts that aren't in alignment with what you want to create, it's pulling you away from the things that you want to create. However, every time you replace it quickly and then supercharge the new thought with emotion, you are making progress to the things that you want to create. And if you do this enough, it'll just become a part of you where you don't even need to think about it. It literally just becomes muscle memory, where you can identify you have a thought, not in alignment. Let me get some in alignment. Then you can charge it up with emotion, right? And every time you're doing that, then you're creating the identity you want to create. Once again, the most successful people I've ever seen take responsibility for their thoughts. And if you're not doing this already, the hardest part is getting started. It might feel a little strange or even a little bit scary, but I promise it gets easier the more you do it. And then once you start seeing the results from it, it just gets easier and easier. The results just keep growing. So for those of you that walk this path, cheers to your future success.